Hi, parents. I just wanted to start off by telling you thank you so much for your patience and your hard work during this virtual learning. I know that this has been an adventure for all of us, and we're all new to this format of learning, and so I appreciate all of your help and support. I also wanted to show you something that will be available for you to pick up starting next week, along with the packet for the next 4 weeks of assignments. And in the front office, there's going to be a crate full of reading bags like this. Each child has a reading bag, and these are full of good guided reading books. Now, again, because this year is a little different in our format, I normally pull reading groups at my table every day and give them a couple of new books at least once a week. And since that's not going to be as easy this year, I wanted to send home lots of books for you to use as a resource. And I'm going to try my best to do guided reading with these guided reading books during our small group reading time, but I am realistic in knowing that it's going to be difficult, especially because it's a lot harder to assess students virtually and to be able to group them by similar ability level. And so I wanted you to have access to these books and for you to I wanted to give you some pointers so that you can help also do some of the guided reading instruction. And so inside this book, inside this book bag, I put 2 books for each level from 1 to 4. And then I also included a list of all the titles in the book bag and what levels those books are, so that if you're missing one or if you want to make sure that you're reading the correct level or anything like that. So I wanted to give you some pointers of things that are very helpful when you're doing guided reading with a student. One of the first things I do when I pull out a new book with a reading group is do what I call a book walk. A book walk is when you may have heard me doing that during your child's small group reading, but a book walk is basically just getting the child familiar with the book before they even start looking at the text. At this stage, it's so important for them to use the picture as a clue. We talk about good readers doing that. And so we just go through the book, take a book walk, and you would just look through it with your child and point out things that you notice. Oh, I noticed that they're drawing a dinosaur on paper. Oh, I noticed that they're making the spikes, and use those vocabulary words that you might see on this page before the children start to read it, because it will help them become familiar with those words. Oh, see, now they're cutting the tail. And you would just go through the whole book pointing out important things like that, words that they may not know, kind of what's happening in the picture. Oh, they're cutting out the legs of the dinosaur. So you would do that through the whole book and doing what we call a book walk, getting them familiar. And I would tell them, we're not even going to read the words right now. We're just going to look at the picture and figure out what this book is about. So you would do that, and then you're going to go back to the beginning, and you're going to encourage them to use their reading finger or their pointing finger. You're always going to read the title of the story. Most of the time, you'll need to tell them what the title of the story is, because the title is not always grade level appropriate words. So for this one, you would say, this book is called Making a Dinosaur. Can you read the title? And you would have them point, and you would say, they would read Making a Dinosaur. Then you would have them open up to the title page and read the title again, making sure that they're pointing with their finger, Making a Dinosaur. And then you're going to encourage them as they start reading the text. It's okay for them to look at the pictures first. In fact, we teach them that's what good readers do. They use all of the context clues that they can. So it's okay if they want to look at the picture first, and then have them point to and read the words. Now, I would always let them try their best to read the word, but you don't want them to struggle too much either, because we don't want reading to become frustrating. So if they're pointing at this word for a couple of seconds and you say, oh, well, look at the first letter. That starts with an L. What does L say? And hopefully they can say, "ul." You say, well, what word can start with the "ul" sound? And if they can figure it out, great. If not, then say, that's the word look. And so have them continue to read. Look at the dinosaur. And then you're going to have them turn to the next page and do a very similar thing. Look at the head. And you can even tell them that the sentence is very similar on every page, and that mostly it's only going to be the last word that's changing, and they can use the picture to help them figure out that word. A big part of learning how to be a reader is boosting their confidence, making sure they understand that reading is fun and that they're good at reading. Now, I hear a lot of parents say, oh, but my child just memorized the story. That's okay. That's a beginning step. When they've read this book over and over and over again, as many times as we want them to, they might start to memorize it because it's a short, simple text, and that's okay. If you're concerned that they aren't really reading the words, make sure they're pointing to the word. And then you can always pick a random page for your child and say, okay, I want you to point to the word at on this page. If they've only memorized the word, they won't be able to find the word at. But if they've read it enough and they've been pointing to the words, and they should hopefully be able to say, oh, here's the word at. And then you can turn to a different page and you can say, okay, point to the word spikes and have them find that word if you're concerned about them memorizing it. So I would start slowly with the lower level books, do the book walks, let them read it every day for a week or so, and before you move on to either the next book in that level or the next level up. If you have any questions or concerns about your child's reading when you're going through the books, please let me know. I've tried to put enough books in here for them to not get bored, but for you to also not have to come up to school to pick them up every single week. So you'll notice as the levels get a little higher, the text is going to get a little bit more difficult. We still want them to be able to recognize sight words as we're going through. So by the time they start reading these books, they will have read the word the as one of our sight words. And so even if that's the only word that they can pick out at first, have them go through the book and find all of the words or the. Again, start with the book walk. Get them familiar with some of the words that might be in here that they can guess from the pictures. And then always, always, always have them point under the word as they're reading. Just really stress that that's what good readers do. So I hope that helps with the guided reading books. If you need any more instruction or you feel like your child is really struggling, please let me know. I would make this a daily routine, whether it's something that you do first thing in the morning, something that you do right before bed. It's still very, very important for you to read to your child. There's nothing that can replace that. Even when they are excellent readers and they're reading chapter books, it's still wonderful for them to be able to hear a model of good fluency and new vocabulary. So I hope that you're reading to your child every night, whatever storybook that they want. But I also want to start the process of them learning how to be great readers. For the middle of the year assessment that I'll do, that I'm doing right now in the beginning of the year, I will also try to do a guided reading assessment to see what level they're on, but I want to give them enough time to progress before I start doing that assessment. Like I said, normally it's something I would do very easily in the classroom, but this year with virtual, I'm going to need your help. And I think it will be good because it will give you a better understanding of what your child's strengths and weaknesses are in the guided reading process. So as always, if you have any questions, please let me know. And don't forget to pick up your child's book bag and the new packet next week in the front office. Thank you.